anyway, recently, I think the last few is also very quiet. Last week we had some issues. No, not last week. The week before last week, right? We had some issue with the broadcasting. That's why on my side, my video manager cannot control mute or anything.
Right.
So no choice. Some bus guys behind there, they got it work. I just there's nothing I can do. So you just stop and all that, and then I had to restart the phone.
It's done by Shambas.
Yeah.
Nowadays I have to come with a cable because most places have HDMI. I don't have the HDMI. And HDMI is my partner.
No.
And he's not in town. He's still the HDMI cable.
Hey, say they go to China and they buy all kind of those connectors very cheap.
Yeah, it should be that.
So I told you I was doing tender with this ST people, right? So there's this lead consultant. He bought all kind of little connector. He said $5 only. So just plug. He plugged into his computer, then in the VGA.
Oh, as long as it works.
Yeah. No, AliExpress make all kinds of adapters in the $1 free shipping. I just
The
order.
free shipping is just they have consolidated.
They put it in the post box. They put it in the letter.
Yeah, no, but I think not directly from there. They consolidate. They come here. That's why it takes so long. Like Carol buys stuff from AliExpress, right? Like 3 weeks later or something
I
like
have the
that.
same thing, 3 weeks typically.
Hey, not very good. That car have to be removed. You see?
Yeah.
Oh, that's the reason.
That's the reason. Or next time put a curtain.
Oh, yeah. This time of the year, because of the car.
Yeah. I think maybe to talk to Chuck about this session, whether it becomes more a discussion than talk, because there are some certain things I think have changed. So those funding and restructured and has been announced. So I was going through looking at it. Like last time it used to be 50,000, so now all reduced to 30,000.
Right.
Right, and also right? What is a deep tech, what is a general tech?
Yeah.
So they have different way of looking at it, right? So
But how's the mailing list now? Is it still goes to full of the CS?
this particular platform is operated by the Sampas guys. So SES, I mean whoever lah,
I'm just thinking how to broaden the list of people who get this. And maybe the topics need to change, obviously not so interesting. Maybe it needs to be, maybe go back to the old format where you get the startup coming. I don't know, that's
the startup here. The startup is much bigger than a lot of people. Like just now my friend called me up, say, hey, is Carousel still around? I say, of course it's still around. I got 35 million, why not around? Right? But the only thing is that I used to be a neighbor. I say, no lah, ever since they got the 35 million, they moved. In fact, when they got the other round, earlier round 12, they already left it. They are still in this place, but they got their own unit, very big one, because when they were my neighbor, they already had something like 50 people.
wow, so they're big.
Yeah, they're big, so they occupy actually, next door is basically one whole 2 unit, plus NUS Enterprise, which is the second floor. Right, they got quite a lot of people. So, I think by now they most likely they have 135 million.
Yeah. But I mean, the number of new startup big founders where they want to come and pitch here, try to make this their pitch.
I'm telling you, don't yet.
Okay, so the number of new companies is not that many.
We used to receive a lot of incoming requests, right, from Australia Global for funding, but now no more. I mean, I have this year I received 1 or 2 only. Yeah, we have May already. So in a nutshell, this is what I think. The government, of course, they say the GovTech, whatever project that they do, they are trying to get the startup to come in here to innovate, right? So I don't I don't see that can be easily done. You remember Cindy?
Yeah.
He's now in Accenture.
Oh, it's full-time job, yeah.
Yeah, full-time job.
Oh, I go opening for him.
Yeah.
Never mind.
He may want to jump. You know
Why?
why? Accenture went in there, they went out NCS or one of the GovTech job. Right? So everyone was stunned at how cheap, right? He went in there, now this is the second week. They are using all Indians to deliver the project now.
Jialat.
Yeah, I say, you're supposed to be training, right? We got training. My first deadline is end of the month.
Because my old staff, now no longer staff, but it's still not that big. Maybe it's about 100 employees, but the development team in Singapore is for maybe 20 people, 25 people, all very good ones. So I think you will fit in nicely actually. Yeah, so the culture is, the people are quite creative. So you get to do interesting things, but you are maybe one small team want to do a lot of interesting, complex,
So
back-end stuff.
he asked me lah, so I told him, I said that he may not, right?
Might as well continue after now. It's okay. Let me confirm everything first. Right? Anything.
So I told him, I said, you go to Accenture, go and try out lah. I mean, his background is like me lah, it's very mixed,
Yeah.
right? So now, first break, then I also know because his immediate boss are all foreigner, right? So if you tender Singapore government job, so chances are that you put some Singaporean in there lah. Well, he's not originally Singaporean but now IC rate so okay lah.
They work, even be your PR, they look at the quota for PR.
So
So my previous startup mostly is full of very few, mostly Singaporean PR. Very few
now
Malaysians, a few Malaysians maybe.
now I think you have to live with local. If you really want to do it, you have to get
Yeah.
locals.
So GovTech today, the day they announced the kappa. You know, I and Joe pitched URA the same idea. I said, why not we do this first? You know, meanwhile when you go live in ERP2, but meanwhile you learn something, right? You help us with the business. I go abroad, I go overseas, so on. But Singapore's a platform, and the URA say no. They and MTA all agreed that future is ERP2. Let's not disturb it. Then now GovTech. GovTech got pool. We don't have pool. Like, is it the same idea proposed?
But they
Yeah.
may still outsource it.
Parking, they already developed that. They're going to launch already. Apparently, that's what the article says.
It
Right?
may not be.
So the idea is similar that I propose, which is basically you have I know your location, right? And then you just press start, and then the person brings a check license number. He knows that this is the car that's supposed to park here. But I propose basically like a money wallet thing, one will transfer. It can be even simpler, right? You can even take enter a lot number because you put a sensor or you enter a lot number you're in. I find something just using GPS and location. Then the idea is that you don't have to wait for barrier. Even those barrier, you just drive up, press, finish.
Use a parking lot.
Because apparently those things are not cheap. And you always once you break down, it's very expensive. I got stuck many times. It's so frustrating. You know, that day, there's the timing. It's not Wilson, this was Guthrie.
Don't tell me because you know why. Here I get it so frequently.
Yeah, Guthrie. So I really paid. Then because in front the car got blocked, the thing went down. I said, hello, I already paid. Now what am I going to do? I'm going to pay again. I pressed back and I said, I already paid. Then the barrier came after a long time behind for waiting on him. I said, well, I'm going to leave.
Hey, excuse me. At least it's better. The KLCC one kena warap.
I said, you guys need to understand that my car in front of your sensor not good because obviously my front of my car is already there. Lucky it didn't hit my car. Right? You know, if the barrier went down, now my car is halfway stuck. What do we do?
I saw in ICA, Rouse, right? One day I saw one car. Say, so how?
So So it's quite common in my neighborhood. Now you understand why they put cable tie. Because people get frustrated, they just whack open and drive the truck near HDB car park that I go to. The truck drivers just bash through, come people line and pay. Some of the issues that they face.
But to a certain extent, because now I participate in a tender with my ST and others and all that, right? So my friend has a company, 20 years ago he used to tender in there, supply computer and all that. So it's a very old school kind of business. So now he is developing into making kiosks. So from kiosks, then he now supply to all these tender, right? So we sit together with people like ST, NCS, go in. I can tell you that this GovTech thing, I saw like one of the things that we are doing now is with CMP. Right? So the whole process of all these drug release, right? And once they are on probation, so they have this center, you go back there, the moment it's auto, right? Come in, they have to do all your urine tests. It's all automatic. Right? But I can tell you that, the whole tender process is to actually stop you from behaving.
It's very detailed aspects.
No, right now, let's say for example, right? I go and tell you, okay, can we do like let's say authentications of the person? Let's say the new method today is that we use the phone, right? If I need anything, so I first of all I grab your identity first on the phone, right? But of course that cannot be done, so they will have to have the IC from IC. Then our IC is barcode, right?
Yeah.
So now must have a barcode reader and all those things. So you are back to square one.
But your phone can also read barcode actually. Your phone can also read barcode. It's not a big deal.
No lah. So the thing is that, let's say for example today, right, we want to go through the whole process, right? We want to implement something new. I cannot lah, because you already have all these things. As the neighborhood police post, same thing. Right? At first it's supposed to go RFID, and all that. Then in the end, no, all this cannot be done. So we will go back to barcode reader.
But you can always layer.
No, I mean to me,
it's very
it's no big deal lah, right? So are you trying to tell me that everybody who goes to a police post have an IC? Foreigner come here, then what are they to do? Right? If they're foreigner, what issue, right? So all these exceptions are early headache. So I feel lah, you ask me, then the video conferencing, right? So I say, hey, the video conferencing is activated from the so-called the call center, this central, wherever the call center is, right? Let's say you can use any new technology, like WebRTC or whatever, based on the specs and all these things. I think they copy Avaya. Okay. So Avaya is in, right? So you cannot innovate. I mean, about all these things you talk about.
Yeah, that's the thing. Like even in Scapa thing, I tried that. We give it to private company and come out with better ideas. They can look at the ground, what the issues are. I came out with very nice ideas, but take it up.
I think the other thing like last time, that Chuck was involved with those animations,
Yeah,
TV production. So we submitted a lot of ideas,
Yeah.
one picture. We didn't get any of it. Right?
But many good
2 years later,
Yeah,
very
that's the issue.
similar, I mean, I'm not complaining.
Yeah.
I mean, to be very honest, right? If I am the program manager, I will give it to the guys that I know, because that football Galactico show we did very stressful for MediaCorp at that time, because the 1 minute turnaround. It's not a live show, but the turnaround is 1 minute, so it's very very stressful for them. So of course, when the stressful give it to you. So I understand that part. I mean, if I'm doing that, so find my good friend, I ask you.
Yeah,
Same lah for everyone.
it's the same. Okay, what do we do?
What do we do?
We start last. How was it? 2 weeks?
We don't have anyone, so I don't.
So we didn't carry on. Did we carry on or not?
We did carry on last week because we actually had 5 people.
Yeah, some people.
Five.
Okay, I don't know. Today is
0. But like I said, I was telling Kok Tong, right? I said last time a lot of people come because they want to speak to Chuck.
Yeah, I think so. And also last time because we had the startup, Chuck managed to get some of the other VCs to come. So.
Yeah. So because of that, then a lot of people want to come.
Yeah.
But these days, I think startup also, I think they are very few now.
Very few, yeah.
That is no longer the buzzword. The buzzword, my friend was telling me, I think some people really want to become a Grab driver. I say, don't worry. I say, Grab will last forever. So what do you mean? I say, you go and ask a rich Singaporean, right, who want to become a taxi driver. That's the last thing, everything else fail. No choice, I go and taxi driver. I say, it's going to be the same thing, Grab.
Okay.
Right? So now Uber already gone to autonomous, right?
Yeah.
They already invest in autonomous car.
Also the funding, I mean, the incentives are going down. So, initially give a lot of incentive, now the incentives are dropping.
The other thing also I believe is our culture is actually not.
Yeah, it's not there.
Right. So for example, right, I say if Mark Zuckerberg is a Singaporean, right? I don't know whether if he does that in the US, I don't know whether he'll come out.
What do you mean?
Facebook.
Oh, yeah, good question.
So you go and think about it, right?
But I mean, there were a few examples, like the hardware guys. Those guys started at US, they quit. So I guess. Then 2 weeks ago, you had that presenter. He also quit at US, the one who did the gaming association.
Yeah. So.
There are a few examples now. So you always need a few. Even Facebook is a rare right now. So it's always the exceptions there. Or you don't get enough of that.
Yeah, but here it's not encouraging.
Now they have many schemes that you can take no pay. Last time, like Hardware Zone first started, the professor had to fight for it. Because I know the prof to give them 1 year of 1 year of in a way you can give 1 year grace period before you start to join bank and all that. Then when you build a start, then you decide how to continue. But I give you 1 year to rejoin bank. Now I think you can do that easily.
Oh, now of course it's for you to be able to continue. I mean, it's a new thing now. I think.
To take a gap year or whatever.
Yeah.
So many have gone to Silicon Valley and come back, but I don't know whether some of them stay back there and never come back.
No, the big stuff like the expert before they came back, but I don't know whether they survive. They raised one round of fund, 2.5 million US to penetrate Indonesia. So I look at it, I think 2.5 million where like that.
So the other, it depends. Like the startups that I'm doing right now, my current startup, we didn't raise very little only. Maybe friends and family only. We really stretch our resources. We don't have, but we skimp on rent. We don't work from we have people who develop ourselves, so we can stretch
You see,
ourselves.
for you, right, you have already gone through the whole process.
Yeah.
And I mean, you have done.
Yeah. So I always feel that some of the best money is actually from people who have gone through it, like Jack, for example, right? Because then you can advise the startup in the right way to spend the money the correct way.
But the problem here is that.
There are not many of them.
No. The problem here is that while that is the best money, right? But a lot of other challenges that you cannot overcome in Singapore today. I give you an example. Chuck's latest investment, right? Okay. We have 4 developers in-house. One is a foreigner. The other is their local PR is Singaporean. 2 Singaporean and PR. Then an EP got rejected.
Really? Who should I get?
Does it make sense that I bring two more?
Hello.
Oh, you mean just ask like that?
Yeah.
Yeah.
I
So
can start.
we just sit down and talk about
So you want to do this? Really?
what to do.
Okay with it.
But if you go to the next page, that will be.
Look at all that pizza.
For what? Watch it live again.
Okay lah, but you know, to be very honest with you, I don't listen
I
to
don't
you
know.
one.
Yeah. That's also true. Never listen to me.
No, the thing is that, like, in this particular case, I tell you the whole scenario, right? So
Yeah.
you apply, so typically it's that you appeal.
Yes.
So after you appeal, still kena rejected. So Carol went to check it out, right? And
What's this? What am I supposed to have done?
no, the
What you have not done?
No, EP is it?
Yeah.
Oh, that one
So
You want to broadcast or not? I will tell
After-
the government what I think.
after she checked and all that, I said, actually, if you raise the pay salary to 5.5K,
They're giving it to you.
then you'll be approved. So I say, what the hell, So you are startup, you're struggling,
Yeah.
still having content revenue, right?
It's artificially propping up this pay lah, Singapore. That's why they're trying to boost the pay.
No, we already actually Singaporeans, and they're getting much better pay actually,
Yeah.
right? But this is one
For-
job that you couldn't feel the local, right?
Yeah.
But you have this system to, and you cannot, the guy like John told me, hey, go and appeal, go and talk to them. I say, they are so smart now, MOM. You don't have people to talk to.
No,
He said, call the hotline. I said, yes, the hotline is the people who develop the software for you to apply online.
Yes.
They teach you how to use the software online.
The app, teach you how to use the internet portal. They are
Then
not
they say,
teaching
you want to appeal? Yes, this is how you do the appeal. But I'm not the guy who's going to read that, what you're appealing, right?
Somebody else.
Then I say, then who's the person? Can we talk to them? I say,
No human.
No human.
Civil servant very good at hiding somewhere. What?
Didn't you work for civil service before?
No.
No.
Deal with civil service.
So I think, like, the way you say, right, like today because of our age, then you have gone through certain process, you know what it used to be like. I told many people, I said, hey, I have never applied for my own PR. Right? My PR was given to me when I went to pick up my EP on the counter.
Yeah, last time was.
At the counter.
Last time they not enough people.
No, even in fact, I recently attended a wedding of one of my engineers that I hired from NTU.
Yeah.
So the day he joined me fresh, he's a Malaysian guy. The day he joined me fresh from NTU, we already got a letter saying this is your in principle approval or rather provisional approval for PR.
No. For those, because you study here,
No anymore. They stopped giving their letters.
now they stop.
Yeah.
Got
You
enough
mean
people
letter to
already.
who?
Like if you're this guy was a Malaysian, so you graduate from NTU, they already give you a letter that you
Oh,
can-
long time ago they do,
you
but I
can
think
apply
now
for
they
it.
don't.
Oh, yeah.
Like one of my startups, last time this guy, very young fella, he applied. I don't know whether he's from NTU or NUS, but when he came, he was an ASEAN scholar. So can you imagine? They dragged him from Malaysia here as an ASEAN scholar, sent him through to school, everything NUS or whatever, like very good. Then he started working. He got EP. Applied PR also. Surprisingly, I said, to me, they didn't give you PR, no. So I got EP, then he has to go and apply. So he applied once, kena rejected, Then applied again, kena rejected.
Yeah.
Then guess what he did? He married his Singaporean girlfriend. And that was before the last general election. So after he married his Singaporean girlfriend become wife, right?
Yeah.
Apply again.
Got it. No, they're very strange rules. So, for example, I have cousins, so they're Singapore citizens. So the parents are really a pioneer generation. Uncle is 80 years, uncle is 80 years. So the old days, they're older than me, so they married before me, and they married foreigners. So this is the challenge. So their kids are not Singapore citizens. Those days, the woman doesn't mean your kids automatically get Singapore citizens. Cannot apply. So then the daughter applied job in Singapore. I say living with the grandparents in Singapore. Okay, EP took a long time to get. This is the kind of people you should be encouraging back, right? Because the parents are Singaporean, just because the kids are not Singaporean. But the grandparents are pioneer generation. You don't give them EP so easily. Everything is.
These are
very
supposed to be the good deed reserved for the MPs to solve and to show the people. These are actually preparations, you know.
Yeah.
So they have these cases. They say, if you look, we need to reserve another 300 of them for our next general elections. Maybe we are all in recording.
Oops. Okay, so I finish. I continue or forget it?
You can continue now.
Not much, only a few slides. I didn't bring much. I was going to talk about innovation because I've been reading 2 books basically.
Yeah, I haven't watched it yet. I haven't.
Okay, I do that. So a brief background about myself. Grow up crypto. Can you see?
Yes.
Okay, so I start.
Yeah, wait, see,
You're blocking off portion.
No.
Then I stand.
Oh, this one This one valid or which one valid?
No, it's okay. That will be a very good place again.
Yeah?
Yeah, no, it's
So
okay.
I will go and press.
Huh?
Okay, so the idea today was basically, this is one of my passion. I think about innovation a lot because I want to do a lot of innovation. Because the idea is that I'm very curious about how companies come up with creative ideas and how they keep them sustaining it. That's one of the ideas. But with background myself, so I'm now a founder of Crypto. So Crypto, the idea is to reimagine document security. Right? So the idea is that we have all these new innovations with blockchain and so on, but I'm trying to build up empty of that. It's more about how to fit the existing flow and be able to get data information out from the document and know that it's secure. You have to trust the document. Document to innovate for companies to communicate. Typically, the traditional ways open up a firewall, allow you database access. I'm trying to say fit with the existing flow, which is the document itself. It can be a PDF, a paper. That is how I communicate with you. That's how from there I get information from my system and trust it. My first job was Emerson, which is I worked in developing this system. That was more of a real-time control system, new product that we launched and disrupted the market is quite well. So actually the one of the early IoT in some way because there's a lot of software and common hardware in there. So that was our trick. So we could bring the cost low and add a lot more ideas into the same hardware. And after I worked in a startup called Excelon. I was one of the early employees and BPO engineering, product development, everything. That is still ongoing. The company is still ongoing. It sells to mostly government and various companies, 2,000 companies actually. And the other job that I do is teach part-time at US. Eastern Engineering Leadership, which is on trying to groom engineers to be more than just thinkers, but also able to articulate and add value to the organization. Thank you. So this is what I teach in US. This is the model that we teach. It's basically based on the IDEO model. The idea is that in order to have a successful product, there are 4 things you need to know. First, you need to figure out who cares, who the customer is, right? Is your technology unique? Can it solve the problem? Thirdly, can you make money? And the 4th important thing is you need to have a team, a great team. Because even if all 3 are there, if you don't have a team to execute, it's not going to work out. So these are the 4 principles that we teach to get to value creation. So it's more about experiential learning. The students actually go out and interview and validate and come back. Okay, so today I just briefly talk about what I think are a way to create successful innovative products for startups and beyond. And some of the challenges I see is that in my working with startups is that they get confused between enhancement and innovation. We get too bogged down with adding features that we don't understand how it adds value to the organization or the product. Sometimes we get caught in that. The other challenge I see is that there's a lot of buzzword about design thinking, and sometimes that's mistaken for innovation, I feel. Because innovation is really, design thinking is more of a process of approaching a process of thinking, which then can be used to nurture innovation. But itself is not innovation. It's just a way of solving a problem. Actually finding solutions. So lots of books out there, lots of material, so I'm going to focus only on a few. First is how to get innovative ideas. This is one of the passions that I have. And I really think you need to think outside the box, literally. Because the idea behind this is that some of us sit in our desk and think about ideas. That's not how it works. You need to go out there and experience it. The culture and so on will have influence how people interact. You can influence your thinking. The second point is where you start from also matters. So this is so I read 2 books recently. One was called Originals by Adam Grant. The other one is Equity Against Luck. So there's some nice examples in there, especially in the Originals book. So they did a study. So I call you for, I give you some ideas. So I put something in front of you and I tell you, okay, come up with an idea. So this guy came up with a binder, put a binder in front of me and said, okay, how will this binder help you, come up with innovative ideas to help you in the interview? So all very traditional ideas. Maybe put your resume in there, put paper, put pen, name cards, right? But then now, if I started with a different object, I give them a rollerblade. Then the ideas got different, got a lot more creative. So after I gave them, they put a rollerblade in front of them or skateboard. Right? Then the idea said, oh, actually, I need to think about in the interview. One of the ideas came out with is how do I check the time? Because sometimes I speak too long, right? I don't give the guy a chance. The time is getting short. It's very good to look at the watch. So is there a way to tell me the time without looking at the watch? So then the ideas got different. So that's the whole concept of where you start from is very, very important for an idea. Otherwise, we get stuck in one path. So how do I get ideas? So I like this other effect called the Medici effect. It's also a book called the Medici effect. The idea is based on Florence, Italy during the time, how people came up with a lot of ideas during the Renaissance period. And what they found out is actually, to get ideas, you need the intersection of fields, discipline, and culture. So yes, I know our schooling system puts us very narrow, engineering, this, that, but the idea is you need to have that broad. That's why I think that you need to go out and get more experiences in your life and figure out how that all fits together. So then you have this concept of a novel starting point from using unrelated objects. So you start with an unrelated object. Sometimes the ideas are very wide. Once you come with a list of ideas, then you infuse it with some familiarity. First, let them go one. So my students sometimes think I'm a bit weird. I'll tell them, let me walk around outside. Now you pick any object, it looks totally unrelated, right? We call it a walk of randomness. Pick any object and see how does it help you in my project. I know it's totally unrelated. It can be a cup here, like this. It's okay. How does it help me in my current software project? Right? It doesn't just to stimulate the brain. This is nothing new. If you go to offices of IDEO and all that, right, they put all kinds of weird things around there. It's for that reason. To get you to think differently. Right? So I was fortunate. I actually went to Ogilvy's office when they were in town, opposite La Paz, that old building. So the guy who did that building, who did the rooms, the renovation for the rooms, is also actually a software engineer, by the way. But he did a very amazing job for each of the rooms. Each room had a theme. He had one room called the war room. You walk in there, it really has all the green theme, it has crates of so-called explosives and nets to give you an idea that you're in a bunker. Right? Then he's got another little room, they call it the Jimi Hendrix room. And really it's got guitars and everything. And so the idea is that you have discussions there in different rooms, so you get brain thinking, especially in advertising, it's very important. I think the same thing applies for all the products that we do actually. You get your ideas, brain thinking. But of course, like I said, you infuse with familiarity. Because otherwise, you go way out, you come up with all kinds of ideas, you never come back. So at some point, you need to link it back to what you're doing. Or you can do it in the second phase. Hey, hi, come on.
Hi.
Okay, the other important thing is also is that innovation is not just about product. Also, the process itself can be very innovative. And that's actually your secret sauce. So one nice story is Toyota. So Toyota, when they first came out with their assembly model, they used to open up the factory floor for visits all the time. So you put a car, wash the robots and everything. But they couldn't, you cannot duplicate it. Because the secret sauce is not in the visible process, all invisible. It's the invisible process of how they do their quality meetings weekly, daily, and so on. Right? So those are things that you don't get to see. You don't get to see how they all fit in. That I think is also very key. Right? So in my last startup, I realized that looking back, here's one of our key advantages. How we listen to a customer and react it back into a product is something that I cannot articulate, you cannot see it visibly in the product that's created. But it's the process in where the customer feedback into the product is important. So here's an example of out of the blue idea. The Shinkansen bullet train design, if you can guess, how did they get this design, this notion? Anyway, where did they get this idea from? Okay. So the idea actually came the guy who designed this, look at how the kingfisher puts his beak into the water. He hardly creates a ripple and catch the fish out. So you can do the same thing in this design. So you will hardly, the airflow will be so smooth away, you gain the advantage of efficiency and less money. So this is an example of how something out of the box gets you ideas. Sometimes you need to start. Another idea is, so this is more about intersection of engineering and the study of birds. It so happened that the guy who designed this is also very interested in birds. So that's why it's always good to have white wine. Yeah. Another idea is sandwiches. So in Marks and Spencer in UK, I think they butter the bread every morning. A lot of buttering to do by hand. And it's a very, very manual process. So the guy said, it needs to be done every day. It's very, very nice. How can I automate it? It so happened that they also made shirts, silkscreen shirts. So he went to watch the silkscreen, and from there he got the idea, why not use the same method when you put your artwork on your t-shirts, put on the bread. So they actually modified one of these silkscreen machines to put butter on bread. And that's how they automate bread. So this is an interesting way how you combine two ideas. So in software, it's also the same. You can come up with different ways how you model certain things. So another way you can help the environment is to improve innovation in the cell environment. So physical, I kind of mentioned how IDEO does it, how Groovy does it. You have rooms that are interesting. You keep changing the objects around the room because it gets your brain thinking different colors and so on. Right? Another thing to be aware of innovation is the office hierarchy process. Because, so this is an interesting study in that book that I was reading in Originals, is that when you come with an idea and present, let's say even in a startup environment, right, you present to someone, the person sitting behind it already comes with a mindset of coming to evaluate you. It's like his mind's got a checklist. You fit into my model. So the idea behind this is to prevent that. Right? So the way to prevent that, the ideas they came up with for us is that before you start the meeting, right, you give everyone a 5-10-minute exercise, come up with creative ideas on something. Then their mind now gets tuned towards novel ideas and creativity. They listen to you better. So then the other question comes is, if somebody who has been a creative engineer before, now you make him a manager because he should be able to tell whether some idea is creative or not. The answer is not true. Because once you get promoted to a manager, you start going to an evaluative mindset. So this is one of the challenges that people have to understand. Even in a startup, even if you grow 10-15 people, the very point where your best creative engineer to become a manager, he may go into that mindset. So you must be aware of that. He also needs to be aware of that. He needs to have an exercise before he meets fellow teammates. Right? Another interesting story about this is that, there's this famous Simon Sinek why. Before you start something, I explain to you why I'm doing this. So in this book, they talk about an idea that doesn't always work that way. So this lady came up with an idea for wireless charging using sound energy. She came up with a design and she proposed it and it always got thrown away. Because people say it will never work. The minute they see the full picture, why should I help you design this? Or nobody wanted to listen to her at all. So you know what she decided was she broke it into pieces. She told this one, can you help me design this transducer to do this part? And somebody else to do this part. When you put it all together, she got the invention out. So sometimes, by getting the whole big picture, if it's something very drastically new, they won't accept it. So you have to appreciate where you are. If they don't believe you, but you're very firm in it, you break it. You sort of like some ways. Right? So these are some of the interesting ideas. The other office idea is to let everyone come up with ideas and discuss. This is a total transparent idea. But the key thing is that the managers not necessarily have the yes or no. Managers can only influence. Right? So this is the idea that they tried out. They can vote on something because they can push in a certain direction, right? But it's not binding. So you have teams that come up with the best idea. Sorry?
Your manager missing an A.
Oh, sorry. Thank you. So, yes, question.
Okay, this thing about everybody come out with idea and discuss. I don't have a problem with that. Okay, but you as teacher also should know that in a classroom environment, assuming that you are the manager and your students are part of your team, right?
Yeah.
questions. So what you think, and you will never get a consensus to get anything going.
So that's a good point. So typically in my last company, what we do is we have more like a forum, internal messaging forum. It's more written. So you write it there, ideas, everybody can critique on it, for example. Right? I'm talking about more in a company environment where you have, for example, in this case, it can be a Google Doc that is centrally shared to everyone, including the managers. So you post some ideas of there, and then they let other parties to critique those ideas. It's more of that. And so the idea is that if you take some of those ideas and implement it, the rest are then motivated to also come forward. That could be one way. Because, it depends. But I want to say it's more that the challenge in the hierarchy environment is that the manager, most people think the manager has the final decision, but I'm saying you shouldn't give the manager the final decision. Sometimes the team members actually know more than the manager. So that's something that it's a bit hard to overcome, but this is what I suggested.
It's called delegation down and decision making from down up, and it's called empowerment.
Yes. Okay, so the last point I want to cover is sustaining innovation. So now once you got your product out the door, the challenge is in many startups, even in large, especially in large companies, but also in startups, is that your customers buying your solution, the data you collect becomes very loud. You start focusing more on revenue, profit, customer data, ROI, competitor benchmarks, so on. You actually lose focus on why the customer came to you in the first place. This is very, very common. I did through it, I see my own company, so the same thing happens. You lose sight of the fact that first you're all very focused. I must get this customer, he has this problem, I'm going to solve it. Now I got the product out, now it's a matter of selling more of this product. But that's not how it works. So then you get lost. Then you find that, in fact, in my last time, we got only very few customers after our first customer because of this information. Now, why can I sell the same to all the others? Right? So it took us a while to realize that. So this is one of the challenges. And the other interesting point that I learned from this book is as innovators, sometimes we become very fixed in our habits of thought once you get early achievement. So the most classic historical example is Einstein himself. He got very fixed in his thinking. But it happens to all of us. We get very locked into what we do. Another nice story is Polaroid. So the Polaroid founder just couldn't believe that nobody wants to print their photographs anymore. So he refused to listen to any of the digital photo ideas that the company came up with. So these are some of the issues that you need to avoid. And it can happen to even medium-sized companies. Once you start getting customers, you start thinking, I know everything, therefore I'm right. This is one of the challenges. So how do you overcome it? I'll say the key thing to realize is, you have to keep the customer in mind. Understand what the job are they trying to do. Right? Not so much the problem, not so much the features, but what the job they're trying to do. Right? And this, for example, could be that a nice story in this book, Competing with Luck, is about the software called TurboTax. So, and I can relate to that because I have the same issue with some of my startups. Once you start getting customers, then every year you get these feature requests coming in. And you start ranking the feature requests, then it's okay, based on customer feedback, I'm going to do feature requests, number 1, 2, 3, 4, I don't do the rest. So every year they were doing this. Then nobody asked the question in the first place, why are we doing this in the first place? Does the customer actually really want these features? In this example, they were talking about filling out your tax form. Right? So when you look at when finally someone look at it and say after 3-4 years, actually what the customer wants is he doesn't fill out any form. Ideally, every year when my revenue gets collected in my software, I click a button to generate my tax. But I cannot do it today, but that's the final vision. But that's what my customer wants to do. So how do I make that process even less? Rather than adding more and more features in my form, what I want is to remove things from my form. It should be automated. Right? So this is something that it takes a stepping back to see how your product can improve. Rather than getting lost in the process. Keeping the customer in mind what the job is trying to do. Second point is diversity in culture. This is useful because we claim we have people in various different countries, but actually a lot of times we have this conformity in culture. After a while they become a certain way of doing things. Right? In order to disrupt their thinking, you need to bring in somebody who can add to the culture. Like, you not necessarily be a foreign guy. Within Singapore itself, for example, you get people who act and think differently. Right? But it's up to the manager job to manage that. It's not easy. Right? But they can be very useful people too.
And someone you hate.
So the idea is to have an open culture that strives to allow innovation, a continuous idea creation. Because you need that continuity. You cannot stay stationary. Your customers, the competitors are going to come after you. In the start, especially, things move quickly, so you need to have that continual idea generation. So I think there are a few nice companies. Amazon has got quite a thriving culture of how they get ideas in the forefront, for example. Another thing is not to get confused is that your product does not define your value. Most of us add features we think the customer like, but actually it doesn't add value. The only person who can determine the value is the customer. The customer can tell you whether this is what I think is valuable to you. Don't get confused internally in the discussions. It's also a warning for myself a lot of time. We get lost in that. So that's one I think I had. These are the two books I was read out recently, so I thought one to read is quite interesting. That's it. Thank you.
Thank you very much. I think
You guys here, right? No
I,
questions. Questions?
actually, you should ask you. Welcome to our sessions.
Yes, we have this every Wednesday. So
First time I'm here. Actually, used to be entrepreneur as well. And then I worked next door for 2 years at MDA, now MDA. So I'm currently looking to come back to the startup scene. Yeah, so I decided to come down because I've been chasing spring regarding information on the new grants the government's having, startup founders and whatnot. And then ACE so happens to be one of the organizations that handle this. Yeah, so I'm here to actually get more information, learn as well.
Excellent. Aren't you supposed to provide some information? It's just
yeah.
Please attend our next public briefing.
This is the gentleman you
Please.
want.